We continue reading The Death of Evil Upon the Seashore. And here, Dr. King was speaking when he says this truth in this sentence, speaking of the truth that evil will end and good in the long run will triumph. He says, a graphic example of this truth is found in the early history of the Hebrew people. When the children of Israel were held under the gripping yoke of Egyptian slavery, Egypt symbolized evil in the form of humiliating oppression, ungodly exploitation, and crushing domination. And the Israelites symbolized goodness in the form of devotion and dedication to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Egypt struggled to maintain her oppressive yoke, and Israel struggled to gain freedom. Pharaoh stubbornly refused to respond to the cry of Moses, even when plague after plague threatened his demise and his domain. This tells us something about evil that we must never forget, namely, that evil is recalcitrant and determined, and never voluntarily relinquishes its hold short of a persistence, almost fanatical resistance. But there is a checkpoint in the universe. Evil cannot permanently organize itself. So after a long and trying struggle, the Israelites, through the providence of God, crossed the Red Sea. But like the old guard that never surrenders, the Egyptians, in a desperate attempt to prevent the Israelites from escaping, had their armies go in the Red Sea behind them. As soon as the Egyptians got into the dried up sea, the parted waters swept back upon them, and the turbulence and momentum of the tidal waves soon drowned all of them. When the Israelites looked back, all they could see was here and there a poor drowned body beaten upon the seashore. For the Israelites, this was a great moment. It was the end of a frightful period in their history. It was a joyous daybreak that had come to end the long night of their captivity. The meaning of this story is not found in the drowning of the Egyptian soldiers, for no one should rejoice at the death or defeat of a human being. Rather, this story symbolizes the death of evil and of inhuman oppression and unjust exploitation. The death of the Egyptians upon the seashore is a vivid reminder that something in the very nature of the universe assists goodness in its perennial struggle with evil. The New Testament rightly declares, no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness. Pharaoh exploits the children of Israel. Nevertheless, afterward, Pilate yields to the crowd which crucified Christ. Nevertheless, afterward, the early Christians are thrown to the lions and carried to the chopping blocks. Nevertheless, afterward, something in this universe justifies Shakespeare in saying there's a divinity that shapes our ends, rough hew them as we will. And Lowell in saying, though the cause of evil prosper, yet 'tis truth alone 'tis strong. And Tennyson in saying, I can but trust that good shall fall at last far off, at last to all, and every winter change to spring.